I really had to do some serious thinking as to whether or not I wanted to share this next project. And I guess I will. There's a lot of people out there that struggle with the same thing. So there may be some value in making this, sharing this little adventure. When people get up to into a certain age range, and I'm in that age range, it gets harder and harder to deal with things like health issues, and especially weight issues. For me, myself, for many years, I was very active in pretty heavy-duty sports, specifically cycling. And then about a little over a year and a half ago, I had an industrial accident at work where I broke my foot. And at that particular time, I was into cycling in a very big way. And that definitely sidelined me. And then about a year later, I had to have surgery for on that same foot. And anybody who's had foot problems, knee problems, hip problems, you know how hard it is to be active. And also, when you get up into my age range, cycling is one of the very best exercises you can do because it's such low impact. I don't run or jog anymore. I haven't in many years. But cycling is a really good low impact, and you can build your endurance up as high as you want. At the time that this accident happened, I was doing as much as, my regular ride was 100K, and I do that about every other weekend. So this really took a hit, and when it did, my weight naturally went up. And so now today is March 1st, 2013, and a year ago I had started taking notes on how I wanted to approach this. And the reason I think this is worth sharing is there's been 3 times in my life that I've lost over 50 pounds, that my weight got up high enough that I had to do something about it. And each of those times the weight loss was over 50 pounds. My weight at the moment is 245, and that's 50 pounds more than an ideal weight for a person of my height. So it's been as high as 100 pounds overweight. So I'm gonna, each time, the first time I lost the weight, it was easy. It was in my early 20s, and it was easy. The next time was extraordinarily difficult, and it was 9 months that it took to get my weight down. And it was very painful. And then the last time, well, actually, the first time was easy, the next time was much harder, and then this last time, as this project goes on, I'll explain more about the third weight loss, and it was the most significant. It's about 95 pounds that I lost. So we won't talk about that right now. I'll talk more about it as we go along. So I don't have any formulas. I don't have any advice to anybody. If you're going to try this, get with your doctor first. I'm not going to sit here and harp and preach. There's no magic pills, no magic formulas, no nothing. On the one hand, I can say it's pretty much, the last 2 times have been iron-jawed willpower, which is the one thing nobody likes to hear. But I knew if I didn't make myself responsible to myself in this way, that I would never be motivated to start it. So this is my way of being responsible and accountable to myself. And all I can say to anyone out there is find a method, find a discipline, and stick to it as best you can. There's going to be setbacks along the way. I already know that. I've been through this enough times that I know there will be these, I'll fall off the wagon, there will be relapses along this way. But the one thing that I've learned about this particular issue, and you hear it all the time anyway, is that it's a lifetime management. But you just can't come to grips with that until you've been up and down this roller coaster at the really, really high points and the low points. But I can tell you this from my own personal experience, that the worst trap as far as weight management that you can fall into is ever thinking for a moment you can go back to your old habits, how you used to eat. I don't have any fanatical approaches to this. I'm going to show you what I do. I'm going to show you what I do exercise-wise along the way. This is going to be over a period of time. I'll make a few entries here and there. And hopefully I'll update it once a week. And I'll show when I fall off the wagon, I'll be totally upfront and honest, and I'll state that this was how it was. But the one thing I also have learned the 3 times, and this will make the 4th time, is that the absolute most important thing you can do is do not give up on the hope and the fixation in your mind of how you want to look, how you want to be, the good health that you want to have from this. For myself, I'm trying also to avert heart disease and diabetes, and I'll talk more about that along the way also, as far as my personal, how it applies to me personally. So what I'll do this first time is I'll show you the meal I'm starting this out with. I usually, me, myself, and I don't recommend this for anybody else, this is just how I do it. I eat once a day, and that's just the habit I've developed over the years. And I know all the advice about 3 meals a day, and breakfast is the most important meal. I'm not debating any of that. This is how I do it. This is how what's worked for me, and the things that don't work for me or don't work for you, you have to abandon and find the things that will. And if that's unconventional, atypical, then go for it, because there's all these pundits out there that are going to tell you the formula methods and the ideal methods, and they don't work for everyone. It's wonderful that it's out there, but I'm going to do it my way, and we'll start with this meal and what I think is a very healthy meal and my personal approach. And we'll just see what happens along the way. This is going to take a long time, I know. It took a long time to get here. But now that I have the surgery behind me and the recovery and the recuperation from that behind me, it took much longer to get over that surgery than I thought it would. Then now we can proceed with this, and it's just going to take a lot of willpower, a lot of discipline. There's no way around this. And anybody who sells you on some cheap, easy, my experience has been you'll be fighting an even worse battle later on by this. So we'll start with the meal and how I do it, and I have some ideas that's worked for me in the past, and I'll share those along the way. So anyway, we'll see how this goes. Okay, this is going to be I would say a typical meal that I'm going to do on this particular type of effort. What I have is portobello mushrooms, the portobello caps, the big ones. About a cup of fresh green beans cut, about a third of an onion, and then I have and this is frying, and it's going to be fried in use lots and lots of olive oil. So it's going to be fried in olive oil, and I'll add a little bit of water. We have some tomato paste that has the basil, oregano, good flavoring, and we'll add some water in along with that. Because at the end of it, I'm having about a third of a loaf of French bread. So with it, This particular dish has no meat, but to each his own. So I'll stop the tape and I'll show you this. This recipe came from a delightful lady on YouTube, a wonderful, wonderful lady that talks about depression cooking, and she's just the sweetest thing I've ever seen. So I'm just going to use her recipe. Now I made a slight variation to it in that I added the green beans because I really like the crunch, and we just cook this till it's tender firm, I guess you would say. So we'll do that right quick. Okay, for this particular dish, I'm going to use pretty liberal amount of olive oil because a little bit of it will cook away. But this is a big dish, and that's the one thing is that I already know I'm going to be fighting hunger pains later on in the evening. So this is a large dish for one person. So I want to eat plenty of it. This is naturally low in calories, high in fiber, and high in nutrients. So I'm going to have large portions, which that's usually the first rule of dieting that they teach you not to violate, is small portions of everything. And I'm not debating that. I'm just saying that if you cook things like this in this way, you already have a very low calorie dish. And I'm going to eat enough of it that I'm not going to be hungry later and be tempted to binge again, which I really haven't been binging. But anything you add to what you're already eating is just more than what it's just. You got to get a calorie deficit. There's no way around that. There's just the reality, and people can't stand that, but that's just the way it is. So get them all nice and coated. And I'll add the green beans here in just a minute. Okay, I can already tell I've got to add even more oil, because that right there soaked it up. And portobello mushrooms is one of the things that, or you can use any mushroom, that's just the ones I happen to get. You can get baby bellas, which is just the young version of this. But in the original recipe, the green beans weren't there, and it just seemed like a good idea at the time when I was in a store, and I thought, that might add an addition. I've tried this before, and it is very good. So I just want to cook it till it's what I guess you would call tender firm, and we'll come back in a minute and add the tomato paste. Honestly, with this, there's no exact measurements to any of this. It's just you make it up as you go, which is one of the things I like. So I've got just about 2 tablespoons there of it's oregano and parsley and all that, and already in the tomato paste. So we'll add that. And because it is tomato paste, you can use tomato sauce too, but because this is paste, I'm going to add some water. And this is just absolutely delicious. And it's a nice vegetarian dish, very filling, and sticks with you for a good long time. Anyway, we'll come back. And this really doesn't take long at all. Very healthy, very filling, and this is going to be my approach to this diet. I call it a diet, but it really has to be a lifelong change. That you're just not going to go back to the ways and the things that made you gain weight. And those are many. We'll talk about those too later on. And in case I do get hungry later on, I've got some bananas that's a good, couldn't do better for a snack. So anyway, we'll come back for another installment. We'll talk some more and we'll see how things go.